you have the flesh, and that's the only term I know how to say it. And we're all attracted to certain things. A lot of times we're attracted to things that make us feel good or change the way we currently feel. A lot of people choose food, some people choose occasional drinks, some people choose relationships. They choose a lot of different things. The addict's not much different than a normal person, if that's the normal person that we're looking at. An addict just somehow crossed the line somewhere along the way. My name is Jackie Gann, a men's program director at the Foundry, and my role and responsibility is over 130 men that's in our program in Bessemer. Living the life that the guys in our program once lived, and kind of by default just hanging out here for a while and gaining the experience that I've had on both ends put me in a position to do what I do today. 10 years ago, if you looked at 130 guys in a program, you saw percentages like 20% are going to be cocaine, 30% are going to be methamphetamines, maybe 50% are opiates, Oxycontin, Dilaudid, fentanyl, morphine, whatever it was. Very little heroin at that time. But I guess over the past 5 years, we started seeing the trends change in terms of prescription opioids and opiates. So when that started changing, you could actually just kind of watch the numbers change. Then the pharmaceutical companies were sued, pulled their patent, basically pulled the chemistry of the pill where you could break it down and shoot it up or abuse it the way that people were. And then, boom, overnight, the market was flooded with heroin. You can get it anywhere. And so you're going to your dealer to get pills, 18 years old or even younger, or the mid-aged guy going to get a pill that felt like it was safe, felt like he still wasn't an addict. All he had was heroin. You had a habit, you had to have it. You were sick without it, so you tried the heroin, and then there you go. And that's kind of, in a nutshell, our current epidemic across the United States. And now you got, from our perspective, looking at it on the front lines, 75% of people coming in that are addicted to opiate-based drugs or heroin. Every city has it. If you'll go watch the news in, Cincinnati or anywhere else, they're having a heroin epidemic right now. So it is something that is not close to home, but close to every home. And you know somebody, I know somebody, we all know somebody that's struggling with addiction. And it doesn't show any signs of letting up. So if there's anything that you can do to be more educated, especially pay attention, make it an open conversation with your kids and your family. Don't hide it in a corner, Be upfront, be transparent. That's the only way you're ever going to get to it, is honesty and open-mindedness and approaching it head on. The addict's not much different than a normal person. An addict just somehow crossed the line somewhere along the way. It doesn't matter where you're from, who your parents were, any of those things. We've noticed that. But at some point they've crossed this imaginary line where they found something that bites back. And a lot of times with drugs, when you're monkeying with the chemistry of your brain with drugs, you put it in, it releases endorphins and that type of thing. It becomes almost impossible to stop that. So addiction is almost doing something that you feel like keeps you alive. So when you look at it that way, when you look at a person and says, "Why can't you quit?" They're in survival mode. Their brain's only doing what it's been trained to do. So I guess the definition of addiction is trying to survive, And that's the scary thing about it, especially when you have a loved one that you're watching do this, and you're thinking, why can't they quit? And they can't. And it's impossible without divine intervention, some type of rock bottom experience, if it's jail, institutions, even death. You just never know. And then you see people go through recovery and it seems like they get their wits about them again, their life comes back together and all that kind of stuff, then you see them go out and make the same mistakes again because of not taking the process or playing the tape all the way through and continuing the education and things that got them there. And that's why you see relapses also. Because a lot of times when it comes to the flesh and addiction, the chemistry of the brain, it just don't change by default. You have to change it, you have to renew it and all those things. It's very much possible that people can move past addiction in terms of complete redemption. Nothing out there, no black cloud waiting on you, nothing waiting around the corner to grab you back into addiction. Legitimate recovery, period. Recovered, no more. And the only example I know 100% is myself on that. There's no question that I'd ever go back to using drugs again. And majority of people think that, you know, early in recovery, it's okay to have this chest everything. But once you get out there in front of it, there ain't no fear. You know, keep running. There's nothing behind you. There ain't no addiction looming around every corner. Do what you got to do, you know.